1600, please. As your attorney, I advise you to take a hit out of the little brown bottle in my shaving kit. You won't need much. Just a tiny taste.
Ah, there it is.
What is this shit?
That stuff makes pure mescaline seem like ginger beer, man.
Ginger beer?
Adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome?
Hello. Hi, Lucy. God bless. Yeah, it's me. What? Hell no. I taught the bastard a lesson he'll never forget. What? No, not dead. But he won't be bothering anybody for a while. Yeah, I left him out there. I stomped him and pulled all his teeth out.
I remember thinking, Jesus, what a terrible thing to lay on somebody with a head full of acid.
But we have a problem. That bastard cashed a bad check downstairs and gave you as a reference. They'll be looking for both of you. Yeah, I know, Lucy, but you can't judge a book by its cover. Some people are just basically rotten. Anyway, the last thing in the world you want to do is call this hotel again. They'll trace the call and put you straight behind bars. No, I'm moving to the Tropicana right away. I think that's a different name, but I'll let you know what it is, and, I gotta get off. Well, you have this phone tap, baby. Yeah, I know, it was horrible, but it's all over now. Oh, my God. There's someone at the door. There's someone at the door. Hey! Hey! Oh, I'm innocent! It was Duke! It was Duke! Lucy! Lucy, I don't know if you was after my girl! It was after my girl! Don't put that thing on me! Well, that's that. That's the last we should be hearing from Lucy, man.
You're going in there because we need this. Our city is counting on you to collect those children's screams. Without Scream, we have no power. Morning, kids. How you doing?
Morning, Mike. Morning, Shelly.
Hey, morning, kids. How you doing? Now, give us a big, loud roar. Mr. Waternoose, there's no time for this. Come on, what are you waiting for? Roar! But sir! Roar! Times have changed. Scaring isn't enough anymore. But kidnapping children? I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die.
I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die.
What was that? You're trying to scare the kid, not lull it to sleep.
I was going for a snake/ninja approach.
Trying to scare the kid, not lull it to sleep. I was going for a snake/ninja approach.
This is the adrenochrome molecule. And this is a soccer ball. This is the adrenochrome molecule in Monsters, Inc. Now, oxidized adrenochrome is epinephrine, produced by the adrenal glands when a person experiences fear. The same kind of fear in Monsters, Inc., in which monsters scare little children by going through doors at night when the child is asleep and scaring the child. And in turn, it yields the substance. And I believe the substance they are depicting is, in fact, adrenochrome. And I believe demons feed off this fear. You know, the adrenochrome comes from the adrenal glands, which sit atop the kidneys. Kids. And this is repeated over and over again in Monsters, Inc. The kids. And studies show that the pineal gland is directly affected by the release of epinephrine from the adrenal glands. And the pineal gland is affected by adrenaline / adrenochrome by the adrenal glands. And isn't it weird that the hormone epinephrine contains the word pine, like the pineal gland? Now, we also see fruit mentioned over and over again, shown in the film Monsters, Inc.
I hear somebody's close to breaking the all-time scare record.
Just trying to make sure there's enough scream to go around.
Hey, other house! Hey, thanks!
Nazi!
Bada bing!
And we know that children to pedophiles represent fine art. We also know that they store children underground.
Oh, great.
So now the truth emerges. These vampires are feeding off of our fear. And part of that fear is subliminal disclosure, which is everything that we are experiencing and realizing right now with decodes like this, that they have subliminally been traumatizing us through the memory of past events and triggering all those survivors through these films. In fact, at Monsters, Inc., work starts on the eastern seaboard with the hands of the clock on the 9 and the 11. Now we know about the event of Blind 11, which is what I have to call it. And I'm just in shock that people aren't putting that together. People are asking, what does Blind 11 mean? And it's because we're so asleep. This film had completed months and months before the event would happen, even though it released a few months after the event. Now I want you to notice the scare attack that they have in this film, Monsters Inc., includes South America, Chile to be specific. Well, something very interesting happened on Blind 11, the event, in 1973 in Chile. Now, 1973 was the year that the World Played Center opened, which is, I have to use coded language again because we can't say that on YouTube anymore. And in the year of 1973 when it opened, there was a regime change on Blind 11 in Chile, in which the CIA overturned the government there. Oh, but there's more. Why are there 2 pizza boxes in the bedroom
It's empty.
while the little girl is sleeping in his
No
bed?
monster in here. Well, now there is, but I'm not going to scare you.
People are following me, going through my things, shooting words into my head.
Who? Who was following you?
All of them, the judge, the DA, my mom.
These tissues can go to pathology. These tissues can go to pathology.
My dad, everyone, everybody. Once they deem you a danger to yourself, it's basically a free-for-all.
Lungs, 1,100 grams.
Kidneys, 780, 620.
Targeted individuals, kidneys, adrenal glands. What you're looking at here is shots from the film Coma.
I think they're getting $75,000 for it. Yeah, it was a bad match on tissue typing.
Well, the kidney's a 4-tissue match, and it's in perfect condition.
You get 200 grand for that. It's going to Texas, some millionaire son. Good old George has the connections.
So far, George is doing fine. What about the other kidney?
Yeah, they're putting it up for bids. I'll get 100 for it.
And this is all about organ harvesting, as these people are basically put into a coma on a purpose using carbon dioxide gas while they're under anesthesia, and then they're sent to this facility where their organs are harvested. This is what this becomes all about for these people, and this is big money. You think this is only going on in foreign countries?
Left kidney, 2 hours old, ready to ship. It's a 4367, a 31-year-old male. The bidding now stands at $42,500.
Tell Jerry Caesar he's out of business.
But there's one thing that never changes. The face of crime. It just gets bigger and badder and uglier every day.
Frank quit. Bought a goat farm. Moved to Ukiah.
Every man has a dream to chase. Frank's was that goat farm. Captain Gannon had assigned me to investigate the so-called pagan robberies, a pattern of serial crimes which had occurred throughout the city.
Howdy, I'm Emil Mars and I'm a pagan.
Good evening, pagans. Don't forget your goat leggings.
I'd say this is shaping up to be a little more than just a series of simple robberies. People against goodness and normalcy. You have to admire their techniques in crowd control.
Tonight, a pristine virgin in a gown of white.
Yeah. Cozy little group, eh? Just like your local Rotarians.
Evil bringeth here our plea.
An illegal drug lab grotesquely disguised as a legitimate place of business.
She's as pure as she can be, white and clean as driven snow.
Up a little late tonight, aren't we, kids?
Up a little late tonight, aren't we, kids?
And on a school night, too.
Moloch, milk. Pure and white, the milk has always represented the missing children. In dairy farms, the calf is removed from the mother. It goes missing. We know that the root word of Molech is MLK, milk. And we know that milk is linked back to human sacrifice. Here is the movie Dragnet, with all of the facts hiding in plain sight.
You see yourself going down in history, mister? Pagan, or reverend, devil, or angel?
Why, both, of course.
Why, both, of course.
One can't exist without the other. Without the Jerry Caesars, there'd be no moral outrage. One can't exist without the other.
One can't exist without the other.
Without the Jerry Caesars, there'd be no moral outrage. And what's the good of moral outrage unless you have something tangible to direct it against?
And there they just outlined exactly the Hegelian dialect. Create both sides of the argument and have the people warring against one another. This was the entire theme behind Blind 11. And here we see 14 years exactly before the event would happen in 1987, Dragnet released. N is the 14th letter of the alphabet. 8 plus 3 is 11. There's your 611, and TC stands for Trade Center.
And I'll control both sides of the equation.
And I'll control both sides of the equation.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to beautiful Atlanta, Georgia, and the home of the
Go easy on him, Mike.
All right. Just watch this. All right, let's listen up, fellas. Now, I know we got a tough game ahead of us. So it's only natural to be a little anxious, maybe even a little scared, see? But we're going for the big one. A whole bowl of nachos. Yeah. And we gotta focus now. Who are we?
We're number one!
And why is that?
Because we get the job done!
That's right, now let's get out there and let's go!
Witness an empty space, filled with thousands of screaming people. Witness an empty space. Filled with thousands of screaming people.
Filled with thousands of screaming people.
Are you ready for some football?
Answers are new questions. The unthinkable is the expected. When truth is not the truth.
When truth is not the truth.
What dimension are you even in?
Mikey.
So just about everybody's heard of Monsters, Inc. And a lot of people saw the Twilight Zone Super Bowl ad. But what nobody caught is that the two are connected. And the common denominator is adrenochrome, a substance harvested from the souls of frightened, mind-controlled humans. But a Google search reveals that nobody else on the entire internet has made the connection between Monsters, Inc. and the Twilight Zone episode. This is fascinating. It means that we're the only ones who have caught this. The Super Bowl commercial almost seems to be tailor-made to mock the truth. And mocking the truths that we've uncovered regarding mind control, the elite, and how they harvest our adrenochrome through these mind control events like the Super Bowl. The plot thickens because fans of Monsters, Inc. found a strange connection to this Super Bowl, the number 2319, February 3rd, 2019. And there, Trump appears in 2001 as George Sanderson. He is a monster that runs afoul of the codes of the CDA's Code 2319, which is contact with a human child, several times, forcing the CDA to shave and scrub him to remove any trace of human contact. Let that sink in for a minute. So let's summarize. A Super Bowl event that links back to a scene in Monsters, Inc. And then a Twilight Zone Super Bowl ad linking the two together. The common denominator, adrenochrome, fear, the scare floor. Take care and be safe, you guys.
Like the Countess who feeds on the blood of children.
You must have a lot of questions. I have answers.
I'm kidnapping children that I keep in the hotel upstairs, and I bring home people to feed on, and then Iris helps me to filter the blood through the children. She loves to hunt. She loves her condition. There's a lot of grappling with addiction.
The pharaohs never disappeared and became the worldwide aristocracy, who never disappeared either and became the Freemasons, who rule through a hidden totalitarian system called democracy, where the people can just and only vote and pick out one or two out of a list of other pharaohs and Freemasons, who afterwards can do as they please. The nobility had to hide their power into a hidden masonry because there were too many uprisings and revolutions going on against the elite. And as we all know from history, kings, queens and the entire aristocratic system tortured us in dungeons, raped our women and had our children starved to death by robbing the entire harvest for the pleasures in the castle. So here we can see the pharaonic tower of Atanor, which is a pharaonic name. There are still pharaohs and statues in the gardens here in Italy. And down there below they burn people alive for satanic rituals. They built a whole tower for this. Well, this is the Torrigani Tower of Atanor. You see the octagonal shape? Octagon. There it is. This was especially built for alchemy. And the nobility still lives there. Funny, eh? And this is what they did there. And probably still do. This is underneath the tower for alchemy. Whoa. And the Marquis, so the aristocracy of Torrigiano, where the Atanor is in Florence, they're having this statue in their garden. Well, what do you know? It's all pharaonic, the whole aristocracy, nobility, they are of pharaonic descent. That's why he's having it in his garden, I told you. The ancestors of the aristocracy, the pharaohs from Egypt, did the same things and also practiced satanic ritual sacrifice for any sort of entity with a beast's head on the statue. Here we can see a human sacrifice done in ancient Egypt. And the Templars, who were no monks but they were second or third sons aristocracy, had their Baphomet and founded their kingdom in the Alps called Octagon, Switzerland. Today, the descendants of the pharaohs nobility and the equally aristocratic Templars come together in their secret Freemason lodges, where they still rule the world and logically never stop doing their ancient satanic practices as what they call slow death lift and other tortures and abominations. If someone dies, normally his or her soul instantly leaves the body to the home of souls, and there's almost nothing that can come in between that process, except when the process of dying is being slowed down over many hours or sometimes even many days, mostly using code O2T torture, which is widely spread in Swiss torture detention centers, as a whole being added by a ceremony with pharaonic incantations for the sacrifice to a certain deity and some goal, which might be a political issue of large importance, leading to the eventual aim. Well, here we can see the lifting of the soul under torture. The bird here is the soul being lifted out here. There you go, lifted out. And here we can see the symbol of the Templars there on the vases, which is called a canopy, where the soul goes in. And here you can see it again. It's all over on the tanks in Iraq, US tanks. And code O2T is the deprivation of oxygen to a near life-threatening degree, which is the easiest to regulate in order to create slow death lift. So just punch pause if you want to read it. There you go. Just punch pause. This is what they're doing in Switzerland. The home of the Templars, Octagon. The subject is laid on a pharaonic Freemason altar and tied to it. Then the mouth is taped and the subject strangled with an ancient, thousands of years old Egyptian belt. Then the person gets ritually strangled, which is interrupted every time just before death, and when a state of unconsciousness is reached, then restarted when consciousness is back, then repeated over and over again, where together with fear, stress, ritual incantations and physical fatigue, the subject will be entirely worn out and with no more physical nor mental resistance. That's why they prefer babies or young children, because they don't have any resistance. It's a lot easier.
In a kids movie, Monsters University, the Mew, or Moo, Doorway to Enlightenment. This is the scare floor in the film Monsters University, and it looks a lot like the Buddhist letter Mu In order to work at the scare floor, to harvest the screams of children, you must first graduate from Moo University, Monsters University. So what is the Moo? The Moo is known as the gate to enlightenment, a door, which is what Monsters Inc. and Monsters University is all about. Doors into children's rooms to harvest their screams and harvest their fears. The Buddhist Moo, koan, stanzas or verses is what they are, deal with polarities of consciousness. Just like in Monsters Inc., polarities of worlds, the monster world versus the human world. The monsters live in one world and humans another. These polarities are referred to as doorways or gateways, just like in Monsters Inc. One verse in particular in the appendix of these writings states, quote, "Moving freely, vertically and horizontally, without obstruction, is the way of outsiders and the nightmare army." And that's what these monsters do in Monsters Inc. and Monsters University. They are the nightmare army. Now, of course, this is the prequel to Monsters Inc., in which they all go to Monsters University.
I learned everything I know from my school, Monsters University. It's the best scaring school there is.
Here are the labs where students learn to design and build the doors to the human world.
All right? MUS.
Looks like the professor's about to test a door.
Hello, I'm Terry with a Y.
And I'm Terry with an I. I'm a dance major.
I'm a dance major.
And I'm not.
5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, turn! And turn. Why didn't you turn?
Because we never agreed to do this. I'm embarrassed.
Hey! I'm Art. New Age philosophy major.
New Age philosophy major.
From now on, we are of one mind. My mind.
Oh, please.
I will tell you exactly what to do and how to do it.
Slow and steady. Slow and steady.
Slow and steady.
Slow and steady. And steady. Slow and steady.
Slow and steady.
Slow and steady.
You just took on an angry 50-foot librarian, and you're afraid of a little party? Take a deep breath, and in you go.
Take a deep breath, and in you go.
Welcome to the debate team. We're happy to have you.
I disagree for the following reasons. True happiness is a theoretical concept.
True happiness is a theoretical concept. Hey there!
We know that fear triggers the adrenochrome molecule, which looks exactly like the design on a soccer ball. And we saw this image of the soccer ball repeated almost every single time you see fear, scare, act on the children. The soccer ball is present with the adrenochrome molecule on it, which is what they harvest. So, the final competition while they're at Monsters University is to scare these kids in their bedroom. And these bedrooms are bizarre looking. They look like either a shipping container or a crate. Now, some will argue, oh, this is set stage design. But the point is that the shape of the bedroom is a crate or shipping container. You also see every time before they go into the shipping container, they have to look at a Polaroid of the children. Now, this is typical in child trafficking. They take pictures of these kids before they even abduct them. Noreen Gosh, the mother of Johnny Gosh, who went missing, talked about this, how they were taking pictures of her son before he was even abducted. And now, hearing and seeing what I've shown you here, you can understand how these subliminal influences could start to affect your child's subconscious. These Buddhist teachings, preconditioning for abduction and trafficking. Not everything that Buddha teaches is bad, but belief in Buddha replaces belief in Christ. And the film ends with a very peculiar scene inside of the locker of one of the characters. And you see a very out of place paperclip amongst all of the other items in the locker. The paperclip is the one that doesn't belong. There's nothing to clip it to, there isn't paper with it, it's just a paperclip. But it's not just a paperclip. Project Paperclip not only brought scientists over from Germany after World War II, but they were working on a project called MK Ultra, the fracturing of the mind, the fracturing of the personality, a small personality within a larger personality, which is the exact shape of a paperclip. And now you know why they use this paperclip as a symbol for their evil against children. Because they fracture the minds of these children through the abuse that happens. People have accused me of saying that this is disinformation because I'm calling Project Paperclip something different than it's ever been called before. But when you use your critical thinking, you understand that the two programs are one and the same. Paperclip and MK Ultra are the same. The paperclip is the fracturing of the mind. Take care and be safe, you guys.
So this is where we are. It's not where we had wanted to be. If half the world's gone mad, the other half just don't care, you see. When it feels like the world's gone mad, and there's nothing you can do about it. No, there's nothing you can do about it. When it feels like the world's gone mad, you can do about it. No, there's nothing you can do about it. So tell me what's the news, and what is it you want me to see? We're lying to ourselves and dancing by the light of the screen. The
The left celebrating this week when New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed what they deemed to be a historic pro-abortion bill.
Here's passed new legislation to protect a woman's right to an abortion.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed a new bill that will strengthen abortion rights. The governor tweeted the Reproductive Health Care Act will protect Roe v. Wade regardless of what the federal government does. He called it a victory for all New Yorkers.
Why is the governor of New York, Cuomo, suddenly coming out with the most extreme abortion law you could possibly imagine, that women can kill the baby all the way to birth?
Today, after a long, long wait, lawmakers in Albany moved to strengthen abortion rights in New York.
Abortion is a medical procedure. It is not a crime.
State lawmakers from both the Assembly and the Senate today celebrated. A bill introduced way back in 2007 finally removes abortion from the state penal code. It also ensures women the right to an abortion in New York, should that federal right ever be changed by the Supreme Court. Pro-choice activists fear abortion laws could change dramatically, and soon.
We have a president who's made it very, very clear that he wants to overturn Roe v. Wade. Today, here in New York, we are saying no.
Dr. Anthony Levatino. Dr. Levatino is a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist. Over the course of his career, Dr. Levatino has practiced obstetrics and gynecology in both private and university settings, including as an associate professor of OBGYN at the Albany Medical College. And Dr. Levatino, we'll begin with you. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to get right to it. Second trimester D&E abortions perform between roughly 14 and 24 weeks of gestation. Your patient today is 17 years old. She's 22 weeks pregnant. Her baby is the length of your hand plus a couple of inches. And she's been feeling her baby kick for the last several weeks, but she's asleep on an operating room table. You walk into that operating room scrubbed and gowned, and after removing laminaria, you introduce a suction catheter into the uterus. This is a 14 French suction catheter. If she were 12 weeks pregnant or less, basically the width of your hand or smaller, you could basically do the entire procedure with this. But babies this big don't fit through catheters this size. After suctioning the amniotic fluid out from around the baby, you introduce an instrument called a Sofer clamp. It's about 13 inches long. It's made of stainless steel. The business end of this clamp is about 2.5 inches long and 1/2 inch wide. There are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument. When it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. A D&E procedure is a blind abortion, so picture yourself introducing this and grabbing anything you can blindly and pull, and I do mean hard, and out pops a leg about that big, which you put down on the table next to you. Reach in again, and pull out an arm about the same length, which you put down on the table next to you. And use this instrument again and again to tear out the spine, the intestines, the heart and lungs. Head in the baby that size is about the size of a large plum. Can't see it, but you pretty good idea you've got it if you've got your instrument around something and your fingers are spread about as far as they go. You know you did it right if you crush down on the instrument and white material runs out of the cervix. That was the baby's brains. Then you could pull out skull pieces. And you have a day like I had a lot of times. Sometimes a little face comes back and stares back at you. Congratulations, you just successfully performed a second trimester D&E abortion. You just affirmed her right to choose.
One more question, Dr. Levatino. Why did you end your practice of doing abortions?
I did over 1,200 abortions over a 4-year period in private practice, not counting the ones that I did during my training. I met my wife during my first year of training at Albany Medical Center. We got married about a year later and found that we had an infertility problem. After years of failed infertility treatment and several years trying to adopt a child, we were blessed with adopting a little girl that we named Heather in August of 1978. As sometimes happens in those situations, my wife got pregnant the very next month, and we had 2 children 10 months apart. 2 months short of my daughter Heather's 6th birthday, she was killed in an auto accident and literally died in her arms in the back of an ambulance. Anyone who has children might think they have some idea of what that feels like, but unless you've been through it yourself, you have no idea whatsoever. I know people find it hard to believe, but what do you do after disaster? You bury your child and then you go back to your life. And I don't remember exactly how long it was after my daughter died that I showed up at Albany Medical Center OR number 9 to perform my first second trimester D&E abortion. I wasn't thinking of it as anything special. This was routine to me. But I reached in, literally pulled out an arm or leg and got sick. You know, earlier on I described stacking up body parts on the side of the table. It's not to, gross people out, to use a simple term. When you do an abortion, you need to keep inventory. You have to make sure you get 2 arms and 2 legs and all the pieces. If you don't, your patient's going to come back infected, bleeding, or dead. So I soldiered on and finished that abortion. And I know it sounds, as I said, hard for people to believe, but I'm telling you straight up my experience. You know, after over 1,200 abortions, first and second trimester up to 24 weeks and all the rest of it, and being very dedicated to it, for the first time in my life, I really looked. I really looked at that pile of body parts on the side of the table. And I didn't see her wonderful right to choose, and I didn't see all the money I just made. All I could see was somebody's son or daughter. And I stopped doing late-term abortions after that, and several months later stopped doing all.
With all due respect, Mr. President.
Senator from Nebraska.
To the senator from Washington, the bill that we're talking about before this body tonight is because New York and Virginia, New York already, and Virginia in debate are having a conversation about removing exactly these protections. This debate is about infanticide and infanticide only, and this is a sad day for this body. It shouldn't be controversial to say that a newborn child deserves to be treated with dignity and humanity. It shouldn't be difficult to say that babies who survive an abortion shouldn't be left to die cold and alone on that table. I'm sad, but I'm not discouraged, Mr. President. I'm actually encouraged by the strong group of senators who've co-sponsored this legislation and who have come to the floor to support it tonight. And I'm encouraged by the millions and millions and millions of pro-life Americans who continue to speak the truth in love. There's legislative work that we need to do, but far more importantly, in the movement for love and life and science and little babies, what we need to have happen is a lot more persuasion and a lot more conversation with our neighbors.